What's up, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of the Chronicles of the Revolutionary Nerd. I am Cynthia McDonald.
And I am Andre Batts. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We so do appreciate it. We have been on a little bit of a break, and it's all my fault.
That's not all your fault. Mine too.
Oh my
Keep them schedules good, that's for sure.
Man, like schedules and just being hardworking Negroes. That is the issue, because like unlike some other YouTubers, this is not our full-time jobs. We do have
Correct.
9 to 5s. We do have
Mhm.
401ks and pensions to pay into.
Exactly.
Health insurance, that is so important.
Hmm.
And especially
Yeah.
since like we're recording this on the eve of the 17th of May, and so the 17th is what the day that they extended the taxes, and I
Mhm.
just finished my taxes.
Uh, got mine done a while back
You know
in
what?
April.
Ain't nobody studying you being responsible. So anyway,
Yeah, I have to be on it. You know what I mean?
I I wa- I met the deadline the day before.
Mhm.
So yeah.
We,
So I'm on
we
it.
we know the good government. You gotta be on that because they coming after you if you're not.
Hell yeah. And you know what? Okay, I'm about to rant this a little bit. So, I put in my taxes. I pay taxes and everything. I pay federal tax, I pay state tax, all this, that, and the third. Do you know by the time that I finish doing my taxes, why do I owe the state $1?
I believe it. I owe the city of Detroit $6.
That's some that's I was just like, you know what? Okay, I almost feel like just mailing in my payment in 100 pennies.
Yeah, you just
I
bag them up and send them.
I really feel like doing that just to be just petty as fuck because I'm just so upset that
They may charge you interest on that, though. You know what I mean?
ah
They may want to hold off on that.
they would be so petty to do that. I know that they would. Oh my goodness, this is crazy, but that's okay. I'm gonna pay them their funky dollar,
Hmm.
bastards, and just call it and just keep it rolling. Even though
Yeah, that's
I paid close to $2,000 in state taxes. I don't understand
yeah. You
how
should be
old they
getting
ass
something
spent
back.
a dollar.
Well, but
Hello.
if you're paying $2,000, yeah, you should be getting something back. Maybe you need to up how much you paying into your taxes.
No,
No.
no, I pay enough. I pay enough. I pay enough. Screw that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just gonna send a day dollar and call today. How about that? Okay.
That's your best bet.
Yeah, it
Don't
is. Yeah,
send
it
them a
is.
solid dollar. Send them a check for $1 that you got to pay 50 cents for. As far as if you do a
Right,
money order, you got to pay 75 cents for that.
right, exactly. Cause who got checks? Like for real. Like seriously, who got checks?
Right,
I pay all my stuff online. All
right.
my bills are online. I be like, I don't get checks. I know my bank account around a number, from a checking,
Hmm.
my
Same
other
here.
checking, my savings, my other savings. I know all that, but
Right.
no, I'm going to send them their dollar.
Yes, that's your best bet.
Yes, to send them their dollar. But I'm gonna make them send me a bill. Make them pay more to collect that dollar from me.
Make sure you get your receipt for that.
Right. So I can put it on my next year's tax. State of
Oh boy.
Illinois. Screw you. Anyway.
Yeah. That's why they're the United States. They're screwed up in Michigan too.
Oh my gosh, right? With the
Mhm.
United States of fuck you. Okay,
Right.
so oh my goodness. Well, everyone, if you all agree with us, please like this video. Share it on your various platforms. Hit the bell. for notifications for every time that we actually upload a video, or eventually when we go live, we have to clear out kinks and bugs and schedules in order for that to actually transpire. And if you really like us, like really, really, really like us, there's a little something that you can do for us. You can support us by joining Patreon. And all of those beautiful links are in the show notes below. All right. All right. All right. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. So we've been talking back and forth about, this third installment after we got our schedules clear for when we can actually do this video,
Yeah.
and, had to drink a couple of glasses of wine on that. Hold on.
Hmm. I see you just getting started.
Yeah, just getting started. Oh, it's
I'm already there.
exactly. But yes, we were just talking about a lot of stuff. There's a lot going on in the blurtosphere about, a black Superman. And, a lot of people got stuff to say about that. That's supposed to be coming out. That's the new inception of a live action movie that DC is going to be responsible for. And we're going to touch on it though. But we really wanted to really talk about this whole thing about white comic characters. Superman is genuinely white, Boy Scout, you know, red, white, and blue,
Hmm.
even though he's an alien, but that's neither here nor there. And he is billed as this Boy Scout, you know,
Right.
middlebred of America from Smallville, USA, right? But
Hmm.
now they're turning him black. So let's have this conversation about white comic characters turning black. And doesn't matter, doesn't matter, you know. So I know that you, Andre, have a lot to say about this particular subject matter. You being a creator, a comic creator, an
Hmm.
indie comic creator, and
Correct.
also putting on the Motor City Black Age of Comics con.
Correct.
And of which I've also had the joy of hosting a couple
Hmm.
years, and mostly,
Hopefully we're back live next year.
yeah, you know what? Get y'all vaccines if we can be,
Yeah,
and
oh, we
herd
will be.
immunity, people, herd immunity. But but your particular con mostly has black comic creators.
Correct.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So like, since we have black comic creators, because like the whole conversation about like being able to create your stories and create how you want to be represented in this whole atmosphere, rather than those characters being created for you, you know I think it says something a little bit differently on how it's going to come across on pages, and even if we go into film, into television, or
Right.
any other type of media. So we just wanted to get into it. So we had a few characters that we wanted to highlight a little bit before we actually get into Superman. And so the first one I wanted to actually touch on, because we kind of talked about this a little bit, and I don't want to get your opinion about Nick Fury. You know that Nick Fury first started of course, like Nick Fury is a Marvel character. He is the head of Shield. He started off as a white character, but as time went
Mhm.
on, he morphed into a black character. And of course, like the inception of him became what we now know as the Nick Fury, the bald one with uh the patch over his eye, who's played by
Mhm.
Samuel Jackson, who's getting tired of these motherfucking snakes on this
Mhm.
motherfucking plane.
Play.
Matter of fact, can't nobody say motherfucker like Sam Jackson. So shout out to
Not
Sam.
at all.
You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to get your take on this first. Like, okay, so, you know, Sam
You
Jackson
know,
playing Nick Fury and also showing up in comics as a black Nick Fury. So what are your thoughts on that?
as a kid growing up, and reading Marvel comics, because that's really was my main staple of comics back in the day coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And when you would see Nick Fury, to me he was really a boring character. You know,
Mm,
uh, for the most part, that's why I'm glad they had created characters such as the Punisher. But
Mhm.
needless to say, because Punisher is nothing but a ultra violent Nick Fury.
Mm.
But we get into
Mm.
Nick Fury. Uh, Back in the day, you always, seen him as being this white guy,
Mhm.
being this person that was an agent of Shield, obviously bringing together different individuals in the universe, but not necessarily like they're doing it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
Marvel Cinematic Universe is basically straight and did some things the norm, but for the most part,
Mhm.
everything is totally different. And me, myself, with the Nick Fury character, I really had no problem with that initially because nobody was really a big fan of Nick Fury. So,
Mm.
with that
Mhm.
being said, when you see characters like that, it could be a 60-40 approval or disapproval. I should say disapproval of that
Mm.
because nobody's familiar with Nick Fury. Well, they are,
Mhm.
but they're not in the sense of like a Spider Man and say Doctor Strange,
Right.
Mighty Thor, and those type of characters. Now, if you flip them and turn them black, then okay, everybody's gonna have an uproar about that. With Nick Fury, you
Mhm.
didn't really have a whole lot of that
Mhm.
going on, and
Right.
I still feel that in creating, a black character such as Nick Fury, the new Nick Fury, then
Mhm.
you actually could have came up with an original character. That's my take on that,
Mhm.
as opposed to just darkening his
Swapping it
skin
out.
up
Right.
and cutting his hair off. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, you just
yeah,
swapped them out instead of actually taking the time to develop a character who just happened to be black instead of just turning this
right.
particular character black. So, so we just touched a little bit on, like the Marvel universe and as far as like,
Hmm.
Nick Fury being um starting off as a white character and being black. And, and to your point, it may not be that much of an issue because people who more so were into the Marvel universe in its inception, like growing up, reading Marvel not magazines, comics, where Nick
Hmm.
was white, and you were even mentioning that he was just kind of boring. Like the world themselves was not introduced to this character as the white Nick
Right.
Fury, right? It was introduced as Samuel Jackson. So oftentimes, like even for myself, like Avengers comics, Shields comics, like I was more so of a film person rather than
Hmm.
actually reading the comics themselves. So like, it wasn't until like after you had the Avengers and you had Iron Man specifically that came out. I believe that film came out in 2008, that we were introduced to Nick Fury in the cinematic realm, right? And
Hmm.
that's when we got a taste of who this character is. It wasn't until I did like my cursory research, I was like, oh, he was white. What
Right. Right.
happened? And but regardless of that, I personally felt that Samuel Jackson did a very good job playing Nick. I
Excellent job.
Yes, I do. I agree. And he to me made the character interesting. He was very much so
Exactly.
part of the story. I mean, like even when they had, like it's always a thing when you are watching a Marvel movie that we stay after the credits are done because we know that we're going to get some loading scenes,
Right. Right.
so we can kind of get like an idea of what is to happen. And I forgot which movie it was where um um when and I think it was Ant-Man. I think it was Ant-Man
Hmm.
where Nick Fury was calling Miss Marvel before Miss Marvel
Oh
actually,
yeah, for
you
sure.
know. Yeah, and that's when of course everybody disappeared. Either that or it was probably like the first part of the Infinity Wars. Which
Hmm.
one was that? It's either Ant because no, 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 no. It was either Ant Man or Part One of Infinity Wars where Nick
It was
Fury
in
was
part
at the
one,
end.
Infinity Wars.
Okay,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
it
and
was
then he
part
was
one.
calling. Okay, he was Part One, right? Because like, well, Ant Man, he just completely just disappeared in like
Right.
the microscopic universe or what have you, and then
Correct.
okay, yeah, and so Part One, Infinity Wars. you get Nick calling for Miss Marvel. So like that's like an Easter egg to like, see what happens after that, after she
Let you
kills.
know she was coming.
Yeah, exactly. Which I enjoyed that movie
I
too.
want to add in want to add into what you were saying earlier about Samuel L. Jackson, how he really played this role pretty good and he brought it to life. And it touches on what I was saying a little bit earlier about Nick Fury being boring. They
Mhm.
needed that animation of this character, meaning to bring him to life. And Samuel L. Jackson is the person that could do it. So, like I
Okay.
said, you really didn't see a difference
Mhm.
if you weren't familiar with Nick Fury.
True.
But by Samuel L. Jackson coming into the plate, it
Mhm.
just took Nick Fury to a whole nother level.
Right. So now, so let's keep that in mind, and I'm going to skip around on our notes a little bit because I think that's a perfect segue for going into the difference between this particular black character or well, white character becoming black,
Mm,
specifically Nick Fury, and now let's kind of delve into Superman. But before we do that, I wanted to bring up this article. I'm going to share my screen. Is a an article that is entitled "Black Skin, White Superheroes." Oh no, your beloved superhero looks different.
different.
Okay, and this actually, let me see, when was this particular? Um, trying to see. I was trying to see like if this actually came out. It says May 8th, 2013. Um, Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's just go with that. So
Hmm.
so this okay, so like so this particular article, and I'm going to put the links below into the show notes. So this is from the Geek Outsider on all things geeky from the margins to the center. Okay. So let's just read a little bit here. So you probably heard by now that Michael B. Jordan will be playing the Human Torch. Okay, yeah, this is from 2013. This is when they were
Right.
talking about um Fantastic Four reboot. Okay. So you heard that Michael B. Jordan will be playing the Human Torch in the next Fantastic Four movie. Of course, some of the fan losers are throwing a fit about it, as they do. But neither such race move over makeovers nor the outrage over them is news these days. Whether or not those disappointed fans actually go to see the movies or watch the shows, despite horrible affront of casting a black Nick Fury or a female Major Anderson in the Ender's Game, these films tend towards the top of the box office list, and for the most part, the complaints are totally mum, as after minds are blown at the theater as that at they gas. I'm sorry, at the theater that gas change of skin color didn't actually ruin the film. To your point, when we talk about Nick Fury. Now, so let's take a look at the many, many times that an actor's physical appearance differed in some notable way from the traditional character appearance, how that baffling managed not to ruin the film. Okay, so we're going to save Superman. Okay, so Okay, so Nick Fury. So we just got talk about Nick Fury, and Nick
Right.
Fury is a white comic character.
Hmm.
He graced. However, he's also a New Yorker, a New York born super spy who isn't afraid of anything. It's doubtful anyone can argue that Samuel L. Jackson can't play a fearless super spy with absolute believability, and he did. Not to mention a 2012 comic series that titled Battle Scars created the circumstances for Nick Fury to have a secret son who is actually a black Samuel L. Jackson look-alike, christened Nick Fury Jr.
Junior.
Oh, so Nick Fury back in the day had jungle fever. Okay, cool.
Yes, he
All
did.
right.
Most of them do.
Hashtag slavery. Okay, anyway, so next, Idris Elba, a phenomenal actor. Yes, he is. And did a great job as Hemdall. The and while Heimdall is based off of a Norse god, he is actually Asgardian, as in of the fictional ethnicity. Who says Asgardians can't be black?
He'll be black.
Right. Like of course they can. Why not?
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
says? Who says? My favorite, Catwoman. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay.
Right.
Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt.
No one can argue that Eartha Kitt was an absolutely perfect as Catwoman. No one. I totally agree. I have nothing to say about Halle Berry.
Yeah,
Unfortunate depiction.
garbage.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Okay. All right. Ford Perfect.
I should say
Ford
that the movie
Prefect.
was.
Yes. Oh my. Ooh, okay. Ford Prefect. Mos Def is a hip hop artist. We are very familiar with Mos Def. What is his new name? It ain't that new no more. Don't give me the line, child. I was trying to figure out his
We'll
new. It's,
we'll
it's
go
something
we'll
Bay.
go most stuff.
Yeah, let's stick with no the most deaths. I was trying to come up with his more name, but I can't remember. So most Def is a hip hop artist first, so maybe one could find fault in his acting skills. However, certainly it's not even a point to argue in the case of scene as Ford Prefect in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy's novel was described as ooh, child, as Betelgeuse, as Betelgeuse. I'm pretty sure there's somebody gonna tell me I completely botched that, but whatever. That's right. An alien journalist, not a white guy. David Dixon was cast as Ford Prefect in the 1981 BBC series, but that's hardly reason enough to make sure the character is white in future productions. Major Anderson, okay? Major Anderson. That's the fun fact. That's the science fiction novel, The Ender's Game, by Orson Scott Card. The character Major Anderson is described as a white male. In the movie adaptation, this character will be played by the amazing actress Viola Davis. Love, love, love Viola, who has nabbed awards galore for her remarkable talents. Okay, Rue in the Hunger Games. Psych. There was a big,
Mm,
sad, cruel hullabaloo over the casting of Amandla Stenberg as Rue in the Hunger Games film, with viewers outraged that the character was made to be black when, as they oddly believe, she was supposedly white in the book. But turns out the book explicitly describes Rue as having dark skin and brown hair. So, yeah.
mhm,
And then, of course, there's that fact that throughout the history of filmmaking and theater, male actors regularly play female actors. Okay. And more problematically, white actors regularly play black characters. Native
All the time.
Americans, Latinos,
Hmm.
Egyptians, well,
Hmm.
basically characters of every ethnicity because more racist eras felt it appropriate to have actual people of color on screen. Okay, I'm going to go
Hmm.
ahead and end that here. So let me go ahead and stop share. Okay, so we're going to come back to that. So that particular article brings up some pretty,
A lot.
yeah, it
Brings up
brings
a
up a
lot.
lot. It brings up a lot, but but the point that really is kind of like, the outlier is that, film media has been doing race and gender swapping like forever, right?
Forever. Right.
So
Well, you
so
know what?
does go ahead.
I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off.
No, no, go ahead.
We're gonna go with one of the first swappings ever in writing, I should say.
Mhm.
We're not gonna go historicity or whatever because we don't know if it's actually true.
Mhm.
But in the basic instructions before leaving Earth book, you know,
We can touch
it,
that.
you know, we got hair like lamb's wool, hair like lamb's wool, and skin like bronze. But every image that we seen in our grandmother's house, was this blonde haired dude with long
Yes,
brunette
yes.
hair
Right. Right,
with a
right.
with thorns on his head,
Come on now.
crucified for us.
Right, right.
So the thinking about it, they've been playing this race game for a long time.
Right.
For a
There
very
was
long time, and it's sad that we still got this in our heads.
And that is like that's a very good point. Saying, like, especially like when it comes to like how we want our particular characters, even when it comes to religious characters depicted, right? So,
Mhm.
it clearly says, like, basic instructions before leaving. Oh, I'm triggered. Anyway,
I
but
didn't
yes,
mean
like in
to.
Revelation, anytime you mention religion, fam, I'm gonna, quick story.
It
So
ties
I
into
was,
just about everything.
you really, it does. But quick story. I went to a neighboring state to get gas because it's cheaper. Okay, because gas is like 10
Mhm.
quadrillion dollars here,
Yeah,
right?
Indiana.
So
You went to Indiana.
I did. Yes, I did. And so while I was in Indiana searching for the cheaper of the cheap gas, right? Found one. And
Mhm.
so while I paid for my gas and I was about to go pump it, I had a t-shirt on that I got from the I believe that they have a podcast, and one of the guys wrote this book called The Bible Says What, right? And so like
Mhm.
and it's basically this all the most outrageous, crazy shit that the Bible says, right? I should read
Mhm.
some passages on one of our shows.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I had this shirt on that said, Sunday school dropout. And there was this older uh I
Uh,
just like being
I need
provide.
that
I like
shirt.
the shirt. All right. I'm gonna see you more. I like the shirt. I thought it
Oh
was
my
cute. So,
goodness.
I had on the shirt, right? And so, like, I
Mhm.
went to go pump my gas, and just like this lady stopped me. She's like, "Your shirt says what?" And I was like, so I showed her like da da da, right? And then she was
Mhm.
like, "You a Sunday school dropout?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." And then she said to me, "So that mean are you what is a God serving dropout?" I said,
Mhm.
"Yes, ma'am. I'm an atheist."
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, "You have a nice day," because one of the things that
Uh,
I didn't want. I said this lady keep on asking me questions. I'm about to fuck around and hurt her feelings, so let me just go ahead and
right,
just give
exactly.
bid her a good day.
In that
Like,
conversation.
right, I'm gonna end it right now. It's sunny out. I'm getting some vitamin D. My melanin is popping. I don't want to have anything to bring down my
Hmm.
mood. So we're just gonna
Right.
keep it moving. But speaking of keeping it moving, let's move it on here. Okay, so yes, we have this whole thing about Jesus, being described, with hair like lamb's wool, feet as bronze clay. You then, some people liking that, even though that in eyes is like eyes like fire or something to that effect.
Hmm.
And of course that's like the Jesus, a description of Jesus in Revelation, which I personally feel like John was just having a really bad trip. But regardless, uh somebody lace your shrooms or
Well,
something.
you know,
But go ahead.
I bring it up because um, when you think about race and visualization,
Hmm.
it has always meant something to the other people that has control over everything.
True, true.
So this is why they put these images out there. Now that
Yeah.
we're lost and confused, see, they can throw out a Nick Fury out there and have him black because nobody knows what's going on,
Right.
especially
And
if you never really follow comics.
right. If you never followed it, you're not gonna know, right? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Or even if you never read the Bible fully, you're not really gonna know what it says.
Hmm.
Okay, we bring it
Correct.
back to that. But to this point, okay, so if we talk about representation, right? So like, the ones they say like the victors are the ones who write history, right? So then that's when we get like and even if like we take the example of Jesus, and Jesus is supposed to be, basically a Palestinian. Last time I checked, Palestinians were not fair skinned people. Majority of them
Oh
were not.
yeah, yeah. They're not. There's a bunch of them out here, right now, riding around with their flags saying "Free
Hmm.
Palestine." With everything that's
Yeah,
going on. But we're not going to get
yeah.
into that or
No,
whatever
we're not
because
going
we
to get
got
into
another
that.
subject matter.
Right, right.
Because
That's the
Detroit, outside of Detroit, we have a little super suburb, Dearborn, and
mm,
it's man. We're
yeah,
not going to get
yeah.
into that.
No, we're not, but but my heart goes out to Palestine.
Yeah.
I will say that. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I really, but that's not this show. We're talking about white
Yeah.
characters going
Let,
to
let's
black,
let's
even
get into him,
though
Tom.
right. But even though
Yeah,
we
let's
can
get
go
into that.
there, we can go there,
Right.
but that is not this show. We're gonna keep it light, people. Let's keep it moving.
Hey,
So
let's keep
yes,
it light.
yeah, let's keep it light. So okay, so we get like the characters of changing as far as like when I was talking about like those who are considered the victors like write history. So we get like a person who is said to be from modern day Palestine area, being depicted as a white man, right? But then it seems like that, and
Correct.
I would even say it, this is from my personal observation, because we are in such a time period where everything is like so racially charged. It seems like to me that there is more of a hmm, more of a push to bring diversity into media, you know. Um, and because I even like let's even bring this
Right.
up, since now we're talking about DC, right? We're talking about DC, we're talking about Warner Brothers,
Hmm.
and eventually we're gonna get to Superman. But let's bring this up, okay? So we have Batwoman. As Batwoman is now in season two. It appeared, I want to say, like in 2020, and then now we're in 21, and now Batwoman is black. Okay. But not only is she black, and this is where we get into the kind of like this whole thing that I was telling you previously about, intersectionalism. So like not only is she black, she's also a lesbian. She also was having issues with homelessness. She's also ex-felon. She's also on Medicaid. She's also, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, and then
She
and
got
one
all
of
the
the
urban
things,
ills.
man, and then one of the things that I was even telling you before we actually started doing recording, like when I was watching the show. And even though, like, actually, I like the show, I enjoy it, but
Okay.
it was kind of interesting that we get this to and I hate to quote conservatives, but we get a lot of wokeness in some of the dialogue. I
Mm-hmm.
remember because I was telling, okay, so it was like one episode. I want to say like it's either the second, I think it was the second episode, second or third episode of season two, where the character's name is the black character's name is Ryan. She hooks up with her ex-girlfriend. They start, start to kind of like mesh together again. And
Mm-hmm.
Ryan was in a fight previously as Batwoman, and she got shot with a bullet that had kryptonite in it. Now, she gets infected. She finds her girlfriend. I forgot how they kind of met. I think that they kind of, found each other, whatever. But regardless, that's neither here nor there. She ends up going to a hospital. Her girlfriend takes her, and they're at this. I'm assuming it's like a county hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't get a doctor to stop to see her to save their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the girlfriend intervenes. And by the way, the girlfriend, I think the girlfriend is either I think the girlfriend's Latino, Latina. Okay,
Of course.
or nowadays they say Latinx. But regardless, I believe that she's of that ethnicity, and she stops one of the doctors and say, "You need to check out my girlfriend." And then he said, "I'm busy right now. I'll send somebody for her." He said, and then she does this whole quote about how black women are more susceptible to die in hospitals than
Mm-hmm.
white women at a 4 times greater rate, and all this other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And so we're not doing this here. And I've noticed that as episodes go on, we always have this black gloom and doom statistic. Now, as you know, I could talk about that all day because I, I
Right.
I
Right.
I got statistics out my ass. Okay, when it comes to black American positionality, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I struggle,
Mm-hmm.
fam. I struggle between trying to figure out if I just want to be entertained versus
Right.
if I want to be
Picking it
informed.
apart.
Yes.
Yeah,
Go
you're right.
ahead.
But I think nowadays, you know, I think a lot of these TV shows that are doing such things, they're doing. I know you call it wokeness or whatever. I think
Little
they're trying to
wokeness.
be politically correct, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
politics should not get mixed up into our entertainment. So I have a
It's
problem with that. They
it's
should ease some politics in it a little bit.
difficult.
But the
It's
wokeness, went a little bit too far with it. When you're adding all this
yeah.
into this one character, that's a little bit too much.
Yeah, and I
It's
get
like you
I
overburden us with
yeah.
society's ills.
Man, and I get wanting to be culturally relevant, and I get wanting to be, to be a to give platform to, like,
Mhm.
voices and characters that you don't normally see. Usually, especially like on CW, everybody got it together,
Mhm.
child. They all, on yachts and I don't know, child, I don't know. It, very, people usually are more of the ilk of being well off, right? You don't
Right,
really
right,
see, like, more poorer, etc., etc., right? So,
true.
so trying to bring a diversity in, like, who you actually see represented in that atmosphere, I get it. But why she gotta be black? But anyway, and this,
Right, it's just like you're just adding too much into this one character.
yeah,
That's
I
just too
know.
much.
It's just too much. But let's even move on to another CW show. So we got even so, like, we got Batwoman, which actually, like I said, is a pretty decent show. I actually enjoy watching it. I
Okay.
like to see the I think that Ryan's character is growing into her own, and I'm glad that they actually got her a job. So I guess we should be happy about that. Okay.
Yeah, because she was
But
living out of her car, wasn't she?
yes, she was. She
No,
was living
the
out of her van.
original, right now, the original Batwoman that started this whole series off, she was white, right?
Yes. Yes,
And what
she was.
happened to her? Is she coming back to the show?
Well, I not to give, like, spoilers, like, but for folks who haven't read, but y'all can watch it on the CW app. It's free, okay?
Right,
But so her character at first, like, was on a plane, and the plane crashed, and
it
so
crashed. Right.
yeah, so, like, there was this whole thing about her possibly being dead, and then as the
Hmm.
series went on, she was declared dead. Come to find out, she
Hmm.
not dead, you know. So I'm wondering, so how that whole thing is going to flesh out, I don't know. I That's the last episode that I happened to watch, is that Kate, which is the with the original Batwoman, was
Hmm.
she was hypnotized by this
In a plane
doctor.
crash too.
Yeah, I know. She just it's all types of fucked up, child. I don't know. But she
Yeah.
was but no, she was hypnotized by the doctor that was working for this other chick on this island doing other shit. And but
Hmm.
I think the doctor's name is Enigma. So I'm thinking that this particular doctor might be related
Hmm.
to the Riddler, okay, in some shape, way, or form. But she hypnotizes Kate
Okay.
to take on this whole other persona. So she doesn't know, she doesn't really know who she really is. She's basically whoever Enigma programmed her to be. So that's going to be
Mm.
interesting to kind of see, like, how that plays out, and how that will be resolved. So
Yeah.
I'm going to keep on tuning in to see what happens with that. But
Okay.
but
Because
even
when
if
she
we're
realized that,
go ahead.
once she realized that, once she realized that she's Batwoman and somebody stole her suit, she's gonna have a problem with that because
She she might, especially last time I checked, it's only one of them motherfuckers up on there. So I'm just saying. and she
exactly.
and she seems a little, and I did watch a little bit of season one, and she seems a little territorial, just a little bit.
Right.
Just saying, little territorial. So I don't know. We're gonna see how that go.
Hmm.
Is she gonna
I
accept
haven't watched the
Ryan?
past. I haven't watched the past couple of episodes. I watched half of the season, with the new Batwoman or whatever, and I just
Hmm.
thought, wow, she's found this suit or whatever from the plane crash. It was the only thing that really made it in this plane crash. The black box
Right.
didn't even make it. And
Right.
needless to say, I was like, well, let me watch it a few times to see what's going on. I was like, oh no, here they go again. They're replacing the character Batwoman, but they're not actually replacing Batwoman.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it took them a
Well,
while to actually gravitate to her to make her the new mantelpiece for to be Black Woman. I mean, Batwoman.
a black Batwoman.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
at
Got mixed up.
least it's okay. But at least I would say that what they did with her is that this is a total different person. Kind of
Right.
like how okay, so like you have like the Green Lanterns, right? You got Hal
Hmm.
Jordan and you got John Stewart, right? Even though
Hmm.
they're both Green Lanterns, they're two different people, right? And
Right.
so how they actually play those particular Green Lantern roles is going to be according to their sensibility, and that character those characters have a chance to kind of develop on their own, right? And I will
Hmm.
say they did, and that's kind of how I see Batwoman in this instance, because Kate and Ryan are two different people, two different sides of the aisle. I mean, like, these are these people. The only thing that they got in common, well, the two things that they both got in common is they both identify as women and they're both lesbians. That's it.
That's it.
Everything
Right.
else, that's everything else is completely different. So I can appreciate a bit that we're not just regurgitating a
Hmm.
character into, that just all of a sudden, what I'm saying, oh, we're black now. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, this
Right.
is
Right.
a total different person. So I guess
Hmm.
like for me, and then and now we can kind of go into, the whole Superman issue, is that for me, I believe that I can personally get into um a black character becoming white if the black character was black in the first place. And what I mean by that is that
Hmm.
like a Batwoman, like even though like okay, say for instance, even if we're taking this part, like let's say for Batman, we know that was Bruce Wayne, billionaire, playboy by day,
Hmm.
vigilante at night, but if they made a
Hmm.
Batman rather, that was black, but this is a total different person that's playing or that's actually in the suit or being a Batman who is also black, but not Bruce Wayne. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like I
Okay.
can get with that versus then just like turning this person all of a sudden white. Okay, so
Hmm.
and on that note, what about I want your opinion about we got Superman and Lois, the new what is it? I think it's is it called Superman and Lois, or what's it called, Clark and Lois?
It's Superman and Lois Lane.
Yeah, Superman and Lois Lane. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that.
Mm.
So now we have a black man playing Lex Luthor. However,
Right.
this is a different, but this is like a different inception of Lex Luthor. I think this is when like Lex Luthor actually like oh, what was the Lex Luthor in the power suit? What is this? I'm going to look it up real quick. Uh, let's see, Lex Luthor in power suit. Google is something great, people. When
Can't
okay,
pull mine
so
up because it's stalling out.
yeah, don't even do it, fam. I'm hardwired
Okay.
in, you not.
Right.
Okay, but so like you got Lex Luthor in his war suit, right?
Hmm.
And there's like a specific like name that that he is called and it completely escapes me. And I had it previously before I did this recording, but god damn it if I can remember it now. And that's some bullshit, but whatever. So we're just gonna keep it moving.
Right,
But
right.
but yeah, but regardless, okay. So like we got like so after LexCorp, his particular and this is like most like in the comics, so like when we have like especially when we have like the Crisis on Infinite Earth, I believe that Lex Luthor in his power suit or his war suit was actually shown, but it was said that basically this particular suit was developed by LexCorp. But
Mhm.
but in this particular inception of Superman and Lois Lane, Lex Luthor being black is not this particular character. He's not like the white billionaire super villain that
Right.
we known him to be. This is a totally different guy.
He's
He
a
is,
military vet.
yes, he's a military vet who, in a different universe, was with Lois. So that adds a
Right,
whole nother layer on that.
right.
So so in this particular instance, the character, even though he is still considered Lex, is a different Lex. So what are your thoughts
Right.
on this particular character being a Lex Luthor, but not the Lex Luthor that we've known him to be in the past?
Well, this Lex Luthor versus the previous Lex Luthors, I should say. When it comes to us, we don't possess the budget and the monies that these original characters had or have.
Indeed,
And from what I
indeed.
can tell so far, he's not that billionaire type Lex Luthor. And if you're dealing with
Right.
parallel universes and alternate universe characters, such like they have throughout the DC universe,
Mm-hmm.
then they basically would be the same across the board. The only thing that would be different is the personalities and how they went about doing things. So why can't he be rich like the original Lex Luthor? Lex
Right.
Luthor is one of those characters for me personally
Mm-hmm.
that have been that was white and will always be white in my eyes. No
Mm.
matter what you do as far as creating these different universes, you created the universes because you ran out of stories to tell.
Right.
So the thing about it, some people will say, in the animated series that Lex Luthor was black. They'll tell you that. But the only thing about that, the only problem with that is, all the characters in that animated series look like light skinned black individuals. It's just that the colorization of whatever technology they were using didn't whitewash it enough as we're used to seeing them. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that this Lex Luthor uh, in the TV show, I like the TV show. I mean, first off, I want to say that I think it's an
Mm-hmm.
excellent TV show so far. But
And
I'm just not
I want to even throw in the special effects for a TV show is actually stellar. I
exactly.
really, yeah, they really
I
good.
just haven't gravitated to this particular Lex Luthor being black because you know visual my visualization of this character is he was white and he always should stay white.
Mm.
So
And I,
unless he's receiving the benefits of the original Lex Luthor and his
mm-hmm,
lifestyle and things of that nature, then okay, I could probably rock with that. But I think
mm-hmm,
that once again, DC, Marvel, these other companies, they need to come up with original concepts, original characters to play these roles, not erase what an original character was to bring about someone black to fit that role just because you're trying to appease me. It's people like that look like me.
and you know
I'm a
what?
more happy if you come up with an original character.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's what a lot of people are, especially
Go
that
ahead.
are like, well, that's what a lot of people who are actually do reviews, especially like, that I've been watching on YouTube, have been saying that specific thing, that it seems like that oftentimes that when we're getting these particular characters who are turning white, or we're just, I'm sorry, that are were white, and we're putting black people in their places, or we're just like completely reinventing the character itself, to fit like a black narrative per se. It would it to appease, your black audience or whatever. Excuse me. That
Right.
oftentimes that's kind of lazy. Why can't you just again develop
Hmm.
the black characters that you have already? Like I was listening to a
Right.
YouTuber on Just My Opinion, shout out to B Avery, who was talking to a few of his other fellow YouTubers who does reviews specifically on film, and were saying that it's kind of lazy tokenism that they're trying to pull instead of actually just putting in the money for the characters that have been created already. Like I would love
Hmm.
to see more on Vixen. I think that she was badass, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
And
she
who's to
was.
say that yeah, and who's to say that we can't really get, more just like how you tried to do this whole inception with Wonder Woman. And like
Hmm.
Wonder Woman, like when you did the reboot, like, in 2017, I was like, okay, it's cool. And then,
Right.
and then you got 1984. I was like, this is trash.
Yeah, right.
And,
What she was. Right.
yeah, it was trash. But your animated films is kicking ass. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know why y'all can't just talk to each other, but whatever. You know, why can't we actually just put a time and budget into black characters who are here, like
Hmm.
Cyborg? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I
Cyborg.
felt Cyborg would have been like perfect to, like, put like money into like a developing his own storyline, right? I mean,
I, I
or
don't know if
Steel,
you.
or any
I,
of these other
I
characters.
I don't know if you've seen the Snyder's cut with the Justice League,
Not yet. I'm
but they
still
did it.
debating paying the
Yeah.
five for HBO.
Oh yeah, they did an excellent job with Cyborg in that
Mm,
movie. It was
okay.
more Cyborg added into this movie. It's like everything that you were missing in the original Justice League movie, you
Okay.
got it in this movie here.
Mm,
And to touch on your point as far as the black characters, like you brought up, they could put more money into Black Lightning. They could put more money into Vixen, creating Vixen. They could put more money into bringing the milestone character icon to light, which is a character that's just as powerful as Superman.
mm, mm,
But the Lex Luthor, getting back to Lex Luthor, I just feel that he should have stayed where he was, what he
mm.
was.
Right.
But I feel
Yeah.
that since they're doing the 52 million different universes, they have to have one, like you said, tokenism that would appeal to people like myself, but really it doesn't
Mhm.
appeal to me. It more or less offends me more so than appealing to me.
Right.
It
Yeah, and
offends more so than it appeals. So if you
it
create
offends.
something from ground up,
Mhm.
that's another
Mhm.
story.
Right. Yeah, no, and yeah, and see that's a point and a half you made. You said something powerful. It offends me more than it appeals. And I'm wondering
Mhm.
if you're really getting to the point where, because like I said, like a lot of these YouTubers, podcasters, especially, who happen to be black, who talk about this stuff, are like all over the place, and a lot of them are not are pretty much on the same page when it comes to this. So before we get into Superman specifically, I wanted to go ahead and share this article from MSNBC. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. Alrighty. Okay, okay. All right. Now this particular article was written by Hayes Brown, which is an MSNBC columnist, and it was actually posted on May 7th. And it says Superman is an American legend. At this point, it may not be too much of a stretch to call him an American legend, the American legend, an archetype from which all iterations of the superhero mythos flow. He is a homegrown demigod, a character whose emblem is iconic and recognizable across cultures. His origin story is mosaic, his mission messianic. An immigrant sent from beyond the stars. Remember, he's an alien. Here to provide for the weak and save a world that isn't his own. Superman fights for truth and justice in the American way. He's also white, and his whiteness has been inseparable from the suspension of disbelief required to believe a man can fly. When Christopher Reeves first put on the blue tights and red trunks in 1979, he perfectly embodied a character who at the time could be only white. In the American of I'm sorry, in the America of 1938, when the creation of Two Jews made his debut on the cover of Action Comics 1, a world with a selfless hero more powerful than any mortal with anything other than white skin was beyond the scope of most mainstreams to process. That's set to change, finally, as the world will see a black Superman on the big screen. Warner Brothers announced in February that Ta-Nehisi Coates, the author and essayist who also penned a much hailed run of the Black Panther and also wrote The Case for Reparations, will write the screenplay. The Hollywood Reporter Wednesday that the hunt is on for the director to help bring his this vision to life. While J.J. Abrams is set to produce and has a whole slate of DC comic related projects on deck already, it's unlikely he'll be in the director's chair. All right, so let's go what he says right here. So call me biased, but this feels bigger to me than most superhero movies. Even compared to to the Titanic juggernaut that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it has the potential to be even bigger, in my opinion, than the 2018's Black Panther. And that's saying something considering it was nominated for Best Picture. But while the Ryan Coogler directed film had the MCU's cultural heft to boost its appeal, well, this is Superman we're talking about. And while we've had other black superheroes before, since King T'Challa, played by the late Chadwick and great Chadwick Boseman, in movies and on television, we touched on only parts of Superman's place in our culture in relation to race. None of them have grappled with the significance of what it would mean to have a savior with melanin rich skin. And I'm going to stop it from right there. Okay, so because I want us to discuss this with a savior with melanin rich
Yes,
skin.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
yes. Let me go ahead and
No,
take a
no.
sip on
Let's
that. Hold on,
let's
excuse me.
yeah.
Hold on.
Take your sip real quick.
Yes. Okay, continue, fam.
No, I'm gonna start with the part where it says a savior with melanin rich skin. We're gonna touch on
Indeed.
the word savior.
Mm,
That's what we want to
mm-hmm.
touch on. And we
Let's
kind of
talk
went
to
into this briefly a little bit earlier when we talked
him.
about the bronze skin and the hair like lamb's wool. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
here
Mm-hmm.
we have Superman who comes through the watery abyss of the universe into the hands of Martha and I forget his father's name, but needless to say,
Yeah. The
they found
Kents.
him. The
The
Kents,
Kents.
yes, they
Mm-hmm.
found him or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Just
Mm-hmm.
like we know this Moses, Musa, whatever name you choose to call him, doesn't make any
Mm.
difference.
Right.
It's a
We
Jewish
still don't
story
know
or
where he
whatever.
was. We still don't know where he was buried, y'all. Just saying.
Exactly, we can't find the
But
bones, but needless to
can't
say,
continue.
needless to say, he was sent, to well, he wasn't sent, but supposedly he was sent to be the savior of, of the so-called Hebrews at the time, the Jews.
Mhm, mhm,
Uh, this story of Superman is a Jewish story, or whatever. Just like the story of Moses, the Hebraic story, it's one
mhm,
and the same. It's
mm,
no different. If you read it,
mm,
you will see the same exact story. So they
mm,
constantly are pushing their religion on us
mm,
through the comic book
mm,
world, through comics itself,
mm, mm,
and a lot of us
mhm,
don't see it. Now,
mm,
him being black, we're going to use the region, or him being highly melanated, we're going
mhm,
to use the region.
mhm,
The region is Ethiopia. The region is Kush, Kemet, Egypt, whichever you choose
right,
to call it. That's
mhm,
that same region where it's highly melanated prior to it being what it is now, we know they look like us, dark, very dark.
Right. Right.
So the
Not
world
even to
isn't ready
say,
for that. They never
and
will
not
be.
even and not even not I just want to throw this little caveat in. As same region was also dominated by the Kush kings for over 100 years. Continue.
Correct. Correct. And with that being said,
Hmm.
this so-called savior, they're not ready for someone that's highly melanated, even though in their original book they were highly
Mm.
melanated. So they
We
just
had to
created it, and
repackage them to be white,
yeah,
because
exactly. You just repackage it,
that can be accepted. That can be accepted, right? If
right? If
and oftentimes, like you just said, I just wanted to touch on this point just real quick, and then I'm going to let you continue. But just like you just said, like we just have to repackage this particular savior, right?
Mhm,
Like Superman is supposedly this alien coming to that has been raised,
mhm,
in the American way, to be the savior of mankind, right?
correct,
Who also, even though he's an alien, is white, right?
right,
And then you compare it, like like Moses' story, who happens to come, who is of the Hebrew people, but floats down the river Nile, is
mhm,
found by the Pharaoh's sister and raised, in Egypt as a prince,
mhm,
but goes back
correct,
to his people so that he could become a savior of his people who happens to be enslaved by the Egyptians, which we cannot prove
correct.
that's true. But that's neither here nor there. So anyway, so yeah, like but oftentimes, and one day we just gonna put it out there right now, Mr. Young, Mr. Keith Young, if you're listening, we really want you to come on our stream. So
Oh yeah,
anyway,
he'll be on
because
here sooner or later.
yes, yes, because like, and for our audience members, I'm specifically speaking of Keith Young, who actually has done extensive research on the mythos characters, of how, like, comic book characters have been created through mythology, specifically from a lot of African stories, like Superman and Haru and all these other things. But he's gonna come on, because we're just inviting you now. Hit
Mhm.
us up, because we want you to really tell that story, because I think it's important. But yeah, so
Oh,
if
it's
we go,
very important.
yeah, but yeah, just to try to
But then
wrap
you
up
get
my
in.
point. Just to wrap up my
Oh,
point, just like in
go
a
ahead,
tie,
go ahead.
in a nice bow. But yeah, but like, so it's, and I'm just going to pose this question to you, and I'm just going to let you go. Is that, now that we kind of explored a little bit of this whole savior idea, and the savior idea always being perpetuated as white, what does that mean now that we're trying to retell the story with the melanated savior?
Well, you're going back to the origin of everything. But before I get into that, or whatever, because I'm going to go in on that. Uh, the name. What is Superman's name? Kryptonian name. Kal El, right?
Kal-El. Hmm.
El. We know what El comes from, right? The Elohim, right?
Elohim, El Elyon,
Yeah.
El Shaddai. Yes.
Elohim
El
is the
God.
God.
God. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they added all this into this character, and to bring him back into to get into what you were bringing out. We got the
Hmm.
Elohim that's coming back. The Elohim is coming back in its original form, which is melanated. We already know that the cradle of civilization, for some that know this or feel this way, was Mother Africa.
It's
We
not
migrated.
feel. It's not feel. I mean,
There's
the
some of us
science.
don't. Some of us don't
Let's
don't really
let's
know this, but
let's debunk this real quick. And I'm not about to go into no mythology, because I don't do that. Y'all know me, okay? But I'm just saying, science, especially if you run folks' DNA, whether they are darker like myself and my brother from another mother, Mr.
or
Bats,
even lighter,
or even
or
lighter.
even lighter.
All right. I mean, whether, like I said, whether they have our hue or they're lighter, oftentimes when you run people's DNA, they always have a percentage of what? Sub-Saharan African. Because we all originated in the same area, and then we moved
Yes, they
out
do.
like humans do. Continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That takes
Yeah.
me to a point. You taking everything back to its source or whatever,
Mm,
and I have no problem with that. But I think an original character should be created in order to do so. Now,
mhm,
I do agree with the point of if they were to do a black Superman as Kal El, not Valzad, Kal El. If they did Kal El, it would blow a Black Panther movie out of the water.
if it was
That
done
that just
correctly,
goes
but
without saying. If
yeah,
it's done
if
correctly,
it's
but
done
by J.J.
correctly.
Abrams, it's not going to be done correct.
Mm,
If J.J. Abrams got something to do with it, it's not going to be done correct because he's the Transformer guy. You know the movie Transformers.
no, that's
So,
Michael Bay. No, 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 no,
oh
fam.
my,
No,
oh, I
no.
got it mixed up.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
Michael Bay.
okay.
Yeah, that's Michael Bay. Yeah, no.
Which one did he do?
So J.J.
J.J. Abrams.
Abrams, J.J. Abrams actually did the first reboot of Star Trek. Okay, like when they did the
Oh, I really
reboot,
like that. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I did too.
Okay, that's right.
And
Now
then
I
yeah,
got it
he's
mixed up.
Bad
Okay.
Robot. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Bad Robot. So
Okay.
I mean, okay, so okay.
S- s- So
Besides, yeah,
let me
I'm
finish
sorry.
this
Go
one real
ahead.
quick.
Go ahead. I'm
Now,
sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
let me retract on it blowing Black Panther out the water.
Mm,
I'm going to retract that statement. I'm going to say it because unless you have somebody like a Ryan Coogler directing this movie, because you could do a whole lot with Superman, starting with Krypton, meaning exploring the Kryptonian universe itself before you even bring him to Earth.
mhm.
You could add a lot of, you know, us into that, because you have a lot of people that believe in the Anunnaki theories and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And if you want to deal with aliens and whatever coming into our atmosphere, then now you can get with the original aliens and what they possibly look like.
Mhm.
Consider as though the cradle civilization started in Africa and they look like us. They were us.
Mhm.
So, what did the so-called original aliens look like? So you can really tap into that. You know what I mean? If you could play around with that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that would be
You
actually
know,
to your point, I believe that would be a very interesting story. I mean, like, especially like, I'm a science nerd, you're a science nerd, like we
exactly,
love science fiction. So like,
exactly.
yeah, so like if you and I think that and I'm gonna say this to make a point of how it could be less problematic is that, taking this whole universe and exploring Kryptonian society, right? In a
Mm,
diverse way and even trying to like even develop this particular character in that sense could be very interesting and could even have legs to stand on its own and build upon, right?
right.
Even if you did it, even and of course, like a lot of these live action movies that come out of like the comic origins have stories that of course that they can borrow from or even create more so with comics. I mean, like, because remember Ta-Nehisi Coates did a whole series, so he wrote a whole series on Black Panther. And
Hmm.
I know that I read like a couple of the first ones. I didn't continue doing like all the whole series, but I read a couple of them and they were pretty decent. It wasn't, I didn't see much like the first few that I read were cool. They didn't really like, tickle my, I would say like imagination. This
Hmm.
kind of just like just gave
Okay.
Black Panther more so of an updated feel, but you know, it was pretty much on that air to the side of what we already saw from Black Panther in the movies, right? So it kind of
Hmm.
just kind of build upon that. But but even going back since like DC is doing this whole thing where we're just like they're just basically burning down all the previous worlds that they had before, you know what I'm saying? And then trying to rebuild
Hmm.
something new,
Hmm.
why can't we do that as far as like, creating a character out of Krypton that doesn't necessarily have to be our based on a character who was our white savior? Why can't we do that?
Exactly, and they should do that. As a matter of fact, they can go to urbanstylecomics.com and get dreadlocks, and get with me, and we can start with dreadlocks.
I know that's right. Shout out DC,
My
holla
creation.
at Andre, okay? And let's get
There you
Andre
go.
and dreadlocks,
But,
okay,
but,
in out there,
mhm, get that in
you
the
know,
mix,
and get that in the
right?
mix, right?
Now,
And
now,
yeah, go ahead.
with back to the Superman, I feel that also. I don't know if you ever watched the Krypton series that came on Sci-Fi. It was a series called
Mm-mm,
Krypton.
I
Man,
haven't
that was
seen that
like
one.
one to me personally. That was one of the best series that really explored Krypton. And
Mm,
General Zod was black in
mm,
this series,
mm-hmm.
as well as his mother. She was black, and Zod. They was having relationships or whatever with different individuals. They all connected. Like Kal-El's great grandfather was in a relationship with the Zod daughter.
Mm,
I bring this up because when we seen the movie Man of Steel, or even the first Superman, or with General Zod when he had the other two individuals with him
yeah,
in
that was
Man of
Superman
Steel,
too. Yeah.
Zod.
Hmm.
These
Are you talking about Man of
characters.
Steel? Are you talking about Man of
hmm
Steel? Or are you talking about like the with the Christopher Reeves Superman? Which one are you talking
I'm
about?
speaking of both of them.
Oh,
Christopher
okay.
Reeve, the one where was it Superman 2 where he had
Yes.
General Zod.
Yes.
Okay. Also, Man of Steel, both of them. They
Okay.
both had
Yep.
General Zod in it,
Right.
and they were portrayed as being white. But if you looked at the Krypton series, the guy that played General Zod, they made him black or
Mhm.
whatever. And I felt that he didn't take away from the character per se. As far as I didn't look at him as being, I was shocked that they changed his whole look here. They went from him being Caucasian to black, but I was impressed with the fact that they made Krypton, you know,
More
half
diverse.
black and half Caucasian. So really, it didn't really take away from what was going on. But
Mhm.
the character, of course, he was evil, but he didn't start off evil in the Krypton series. But the
Mhm.
fact of the matter that a lot of people have never even acknowledged that they changed General Zod to being black.
Mm.
They
So
haven't
that
even.
wasn't a
I guess a lot of people never even watched Krypton, but it was one of the better stories, right next to Clark and Superman and Lois Lane.
Lois Lane. Yeah. And you know what? And I mean, so this brings up a couple of points. So and I think that like we kind of touched on it before about how like, DC universe, like that oftentimes it's like even explored in CW is depending on like the show, d- I feel they do a pretty decent job as far as like being able to develop characters, like tell stories and that are enjoyable, right? The newer inceptions when it
Right,
comes to DC characters on live action film is lackluster at best, right? And I would definitely say that
right.
to me, DC filmmaking went down after the Dark Knight series. That's when it just went to, you know what I'm saying? I mean, because like Dark Knight, okay, so like
Mm,
when we had Batman Begins, that was cool. Then we had the Dark Knight, which was I felt was
hmm
stellar. And then you
Right.
had 3 with Bane, which was cool. It was okay, you know what I'm saying? I think that's the
This
Dark
is
Knight
okay,
Rises,
right?
right? Yeah, it was just
It's Dark
okay.
Knight as well.
Yeah, okay, yeah, the Dark Knight Rises, right? So we had the Dark Knight and then the
Mm,
Dark Knight Rises. So when Dark Knight Rises came out and had Catwoman played by oh shit, what's that chick's name? Who was also in the Princess Diaries? Um God, I'm looking at her face right now. She also played in her half singing ass. Regardless, I'm pretty y'all shout it out as y'all watching this and put it in your comment section. The Catwoman I'm talking about in Dark Knight Rises, right? But anyway,
hmm
um, so that was a halfway decent movie. But after that, And I know that even with the Dark Knight series, they were trying to redeem themselves after they had the debacle of
Hmm.
of the Batmans previous to that. Like I would say, like the Val Kilmer
Hmm.
ones. Yeah.
You didn't care
With the
for that
Joel the,
with
the
the
Joel Schumacher Batmans.
with who was that? Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh my gosh. It was and the thing about it is I enjoy a little camp, but damn.
Yeah, it was over the top with it.
It
They
was
may as well
too
just went
much.
on and made the original Batman back in his 50s and made that a movie. Just clipped them
Right.
all together.
Well, what they were trying to do was they're trying to do the camp with the newer inception of what comic book movies were doing, which was these brooding characters, making
Mm-hmm.
everything like, film noir-ish,
Hmm.
in their feelings and all this other stuff, but it just
But
didn't
to me
didn't
personally, I
work.
think Batman and the creation of the Dark Knight series, I should say, it kind of like just not necessarily destroyed the DC universe and how to do
Mhm,
movies, but I
mhm.
guess you could say that because they started making Superman and all these other characters. They tried to make them darker, and
Yeah.
they really didn't even have to go that route or whatever. And they
Well,
tried to bring some light to
I
Superman and the in Batman versus Superman, but
well, you know
I
what?
think
I don't necessarily have a problem with them exploring a darker side of like a Superman character, or because like we've always seen him as just the guy who does right because it's
good,
just right to do,
right?
right? But like but one of the things and I'm going to tie this to something like, from personal experience, and then I'm going to come back to it, so just follow me. I oftentimes, being a non-believer, get a question about where do you get your morals from, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
like I personally have an issue with the world moral or morality, because like, depending on what you believe, that can mean anything. That's just my personal opinion. But but I do tell people, I said, I do I feel like I am a moral or an ethical person because I want to be, and because I believe in well-being. Like
Hmm.
I have no desire uh to be just like, heinous or horrible to my neighbors, because I want to live in a peaceful area or peaceful society, and I know that part of that needs to be done because I participate in that, right? But
Hmm.
there's nothing outside of me that's telling me that I need to be good, you know? so so with that said, I'm still a human. I'm still a person. I still deal with things. I still have a life. I every day I don't start, singing scales. Do re mi fa sol la ti do just because the sun is out,
Right,
And, I'm just saying, like,
right.
I deal with life. We all do, right? So and so if we even take that particular human element of dealing with life, and then add it to like a Superman character who is just, seems to be, never has a bad day, and I'm always doing this just because, I am the savior, and I know that I this is what my purpose is.
Hmm.
How can we still explore
Hmm.
that, from like another side of, I'm still want to do good, even though I don't always have good days. I don't always feel the best. I got cussed out on the phone this morning. Somebody done cut me off in traffic. I mean, my dog died. I mean, a
Right.
lot of shit is happening right now. So,
Right.
like, if we can kind of like, like explore that part of like, what is it to be like a person and deal with life, yet and
Hmm.
still you're this hero that still has to kind of put your life on the side in order for you to help somebody else, even though you're not feeling it. I
Right.
don't
Right.
necessarily mind. I don't mind that element, or even if they call it like a darker side. I don't necessarily think of it as a darker side. I think that's just a human side, right? And
Hmm.
because like he was still, even though he's an alien, he's still raised human. He was still with human family, lived in the
Hmm.
house and all this other shit. So
Correct.
that's still very much so. So the human experience is very much so a part of him. But
Hmm.
but just like oftentimes that side of him was more so looked at in a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It was explored in a very milk toast way.
Hmm.
Oh,
That's the reason
Clark,
why they don't want a black guy to be Superman.
because when it comes to a black dude being
We
Superman,
don't
and if
possess
you
that.
go, we but that, because like if going back to what I was saying before, if you talking about exploring a human side of a person and he black, you know, and if we're looking at what does it mean to be black, and they're like, okay, like, and especially this is American, so what does it mean to be black in America? And on top of that, you Superman, like,
Hmm.
I almost want to see that. And I almost kind of want to see that story, you know what I'm saying? Because like, and wonder like, are we gonna get the CW wokiness of it?
Which I hope we
Throwing
don't.
that part, or can we actually that part, or what is it like to have I don't know if they're gonna call him Clark or they're gonna call him Rashad Clint. I don't know. Rashad Clark, Rashad Kent. I don't know, but I'm
Well,
making up stuff now. But but
that's
what
all
is
good.
it? But what is it? What would it be like? In order for you to possess these massive powers, yet you are still a marginalized person. What
Well,
is it like when you get stopped by the police, knowing that you can
right,
just like, x-ray your ass out of a ticket, but you got to take it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
what does that look like?
Well, it's possible, that they'll do a Val Zod version of Superman as opposed to
Hmm.
the actual Clark Kent version. I think he's
Maybe.
from one of the other universes, 52, I think.
Hmm.
Um, he's basically got the same exact powers. He's basically the same as Superman, the actual Superman that we know of.
Hmm.
Now, most people that read comics and follow, the DC universe, some of them may be game for that right there, and they may not have a problem with that because even though it's a bite off the actual Superman, but it's not Superman
Hmm.
that we know of today.
It's not Clark Kent
It's not Clark Kent,
or
Kal
Cal
El,
El. Yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
that being said, if they may pull it off by using one of the brothers out here, like Michael B. Jordan, to play that role,
Hmm.
But then Michael B. Jordan, it's like I'm sure he's getting tired of playing Human Torch, Killmonger.
Well, I mean, well, first off,
They go,
Killmonger was the hero of Black Panther. Let's just point
he,
blank, period.
he
Point
he
blank,
was.
period.
That's another subject.
Point
But
blank,
that's true.
period. He was the hero, okay? But regardless
His
of
words
that,
made him the hero.
but his actions were very much so motivated, and his words
Mhm,
said a plethora. But regardless of that,
mhm.
so, but what? To be honest, I don't necessarily have an issue with that, only because, like, and first off, I know Michael B. Jordan, if especially if they could probably give him a good script and they pay him well, we'll do it. So you know what I'm saying. So if they're gonna sink
They
millions
should
of
pay him
dollars,
real. They should pay him
they should pay him very well.
swell.
Yes, very well. I mean, like,
Mhm.
to be honest, like, later inceptions of most Michael B. Jordan movies I've watched, I actually enjoyed, except for the Fantastic Four. That was trash.
Mhm.
But I blame this DC. But if we get J.J. Abrams, producing, we get Ta-Nehisi Coates doing the
Uh,
screenplay, and I mean, for the most part, Ta-Nehisi Coates is a pretty good writer. I mean, like, I don't know, we'll see. And but one of the things that I'm hoping, I remember like one person that I was watching brought this up. He said, "Man, but if, like, like when I was talking about, like, what is it like to be black in America, and like the human experience behind that, and be also this person that possesses his powers, right?" And then he's like, "Man,
mhm.
what if, like, all of a sudden this the dude that like has like a felony, maybe two, got a rap sheet, got about a couple of baby mamas, is on welfare, just all this, but I don't necessarily think that Ta-Nehisi Coates will write him like that. And
Right, right.
and since I'm unfamiliar, I'm not very familiar with that whole universe as far as like that you were talking about, where like Superman, where this particular character had Superman powers, but they happen to be black. What were the storylines like that from those comics that you can
It,
recall?
wa- well, he has the same exact powers, really, as the Superman that we know of. And I think if they were to do a Superman movie, I think that it wouldn't be an uproar if people know that it's Val Zod and not Kal El.
Well, there was also like okay, so the dude who played Superman in the Man of Steel, and also in the Justice League. What's his name? Is it Henry Cargill?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Calville. So like that whole so like some people were, this whole thing about like when they announced that they were going to be doing this movie, and it was going to be a black guy, and we were wondering if we were going to get like another Superman movie just with
Mhm.
Cavill, and nah, and they announced it on his birthday. I was like, damn,
Right. They didn't even want
damn.
him to play Superman. You had a lot of those people that didn't want him to play Superman when they announced that he was going to be Superman.
Yeah, that's true.
And the reason being is because he's of British descent.
Mm. And that's a whole nother, and that adds more layers, like like
Exactly.
who is proper enough to play this. Like, do they need to be Black American? What if they actually put like a brother from British descent all of a sudden, playing a Black American who happens to be Superman? What does that look like? There was so there's a lot, that goes on to this, right? But I I'm curious to
Mhm.
see what they'll do with it. I'm going to be watching this. Like, and the more that I'm talking with you about this, the less upset I am about it. But I will still say that there is still there, but because, like, there is a possibility, depending on where they can go with it, where you can still create a black Superman character that is not Kal-El, that is not Clark Kent, that because that's
Exactly.
how already have been established, and who could possibly bring
Hmm.
an element to this story where you can also tell it from a black man in America's point of view, with these great powers, right? And how he uses it, and how it shows up,
Hmm.
and what his story would be. I mean, like, I'm interested. I don't necessarily think that it would necessarily appease me. I said necessarily way too much, but I don't necessarily think it appeases, like, oh, now I feel represented because we got a black Superman. Yay. You know what I'm saying? It's more,
Right, right.
like, I would feel more represented if we take our characters that have been, that are already
Hmm.
black, and invest in them in order to have their stories on this big screen, or even
Yeah.
characters that have been created by black writers such as yourself, having
Hmm.
that investment into them, and have our stories told in that particular manner, instead of just blackwashing a white character.
Correct. I would love to see, if not dreadlocks, they should do milestone icon. DC
Mhm.
is behind that, so they can put that out there. There's a lot of us that's familiar with his story. I
Mhm.
think one of the only issues, I think that they're the reason why they're not really pushing that issue is because he is a conservative.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Conservative views. So
Hmm.
maybe that's what the issue is. I don't know,
Maybe.
but
Maybe. I'm not too familiar with the icon character, but regardless,
understandable.
I mean, there's black conservatives. I debated one a few weeks ago, so. I said, you cool, fam, but you
Okay.
wrong." Like, "You wrong." And I'll
They
tell you
be right
why.
on some things, though.
Some things they be right and
Some
some
things they
things
be
they
right
not.
on.
Yeah, I mean, it's kinda like Candace Owens, she like a broken clock. She right about twice a day, and everything else is a fallacy.
Right,
You
right.
know
Yeah, I
you know,
agree.
yeah, so you got those, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's something like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, I agree with that," but
nutcases.
yeah, I said, "I agree with that," but the rest of what you just said was just complete and utter total bullshit. So, we've been going for a minute, fam, talking white characters gone black and talked about how you got like some white characters that would completely black, we just put a black face on them. Some black characters that were created alongside white characters, but they kind of like, keep the same type, superhero element. And then, now we have this whole thing about Superman being black and being in development and what that could possibly look like. So
Yeah.
with this all, so we talked about a lot, I know. So with all of this said, what are your final thoughts about this particular subject matter?
Well, my final thoughts is once again, uh, I think that the industry should reach out to more independence to get more original stories, and that would be, uh, like they could reach out to Brother Dawood and get his story with Brother Man Comics, and
Yep.
that'll be, like the ultimate for me. As
Mhm.
far as a good black story, an original story, you
Mhm.
know, uh, and once again, you got like myself with dreadlocks. You got
Right? And the
several
Black
individuals
Watch
out here that's,
series.
yeah,
Yeah.
Black Watch, Jihad AD. We can go on and on. We got
Superhero
all
Huff.
kind of stories out here. They can, yeah,
Yeah.
superhero Huff. You can
Mhm.
call her up, and she got a story that's that needs to be told, especially with what's going on in
Yes.
with the police department itself.
Oh
So
yes. Mhm.
I think we need lot. They need to look more into what we're actually doing and give us a nice
Mhm.
offer to get our
Mhm.
stories out there. Because right now they're still running a complete industry. We don't have the plug or the access to do the things that they can do. They do
Mhm.
have the ability to make it happen, but they refuse to make it happen. And I
Mhm.
understand it because if I was in power, I'd do the same thing. That's probably why they're having a problem with this 1619 project. That's another
Mhm.
story, but it's kind of
Yeah.
ties into everything when it
Yeah,
comes to building us up and our
yeah.
level of understanding of our true selves.
Mhm.
They don't want that. They
Well,
don't want that. But we want it, so they should just reach out and come to our industry.
to that point, like, like we as a population in America, about 12 to 13% of the population, but we spend. We're consumers. And representation matters, but it shouldn't be to the point where representation happens at by hook or crook. It should be thoughtful. It should be reflexive of our stories and who we are as a people, and tell them in a very authentic way, instead of just like, oh, we just gonna make them black and just call them and just write some stuff and everybody and the negro's gonna be
Hmm.
happy. Hey now, no, no, like, no.
Right.
It should be to the point, like you said, like, contact, these indie writers, have them, put them on your team. Like, if you are so hell bent on getting more diversity on film, especially like with the climate that we are in now, you should talk to people who've been doing it,
Hmm.
instead of you trying to, and you trying to you figure it out and just get like a couple people like JJ Abrams or Ta-Nehisi Coates or whatever. Like, no, you, like Andre said, we have people that's been out here, that's been telling these stories, that's been producing, they've been putting their own blood, sweat, tears, and money into making sure that they are producing content to go out to folk. And the industry, if we, because we live in a capitalistic society where we have like a hoarding, of
Hmm.
capital in these particular industries. If you really are so much, if you're really so much concerned about making sure that they're represented, then make sure that the people who are creating these stories have a seat at the table. Indeed. Selah,
Indeed, right
pause,
on,
and think about
right on,
that. Well,
right on.
well, you know what, people, we are so grateful that you actually tuned in to our particular topic about white characters turning black. And we just want to say thank you again for actually taking the time to watch us this I think that we're gonna do it this evening. Yeah, we're gonna put it in the evening because we've been drinking wine. You might as well go ahead and get your toast up, fam. Get your toast up,
Yeah,
fam.
there's nothing up in here no more. Just got like tad bit
Oh,
left now.
okay. Well, that's okay.
That's it.
Mm, mm. Okay, cool.
But I'm gonna toast that little tad bit though.
Exactly. We
It's a little
toasting that.
corner.
It's right. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to the channel, the Motor City Black Age. Also, make sure you tune in some more content. We schedules, y'all. We gonna get it together. And again, make sure that
Yeah,
if you like the content, again, support us, support this channel and the host. Our Patreon links are going to be below. Also, make sure that you are subscribing again to the channel. Make sure you like this video and hit the notification bell so that you can get a ding a ling a ling every time that we upload a new uh, video, and or when we finally get it together to go live. That will happen sooner than later. And on that note, from us to you, we say
peace.